Okay, so you're gonna need your spots. You have three large spots and 4 medium spots for this next section, okay? So I'm gonna do large spots first. I'll tuck away my other things. We'll do one by one. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do 3 of the bigger spots in line with her head, okay? Going back towards her spinneret. So it's gonna go 1, 2, and 3, okay? So we'll start with the one closest to the neck for placement. All right, flip her around. And you're not stuffing these, all right? You don't want them to be stitched too wide. You kind of want them to pop up a little bit. So you're stitching them a little bit narrow like this. And that way it creates a nice little bump, but it's not gonna be stuffed at all. All right, and now what we're doing is just whip stitching, okay? You're going in through that braided edge and then back down into the blue and coming out next door to another stitch there. Then getting another one of the loops, going back into the blue, coming back out another next door stitch. However you want it to be laying, those are the stitches that you'll come back up through. So if you wanted it wider, you'd have to go to the wider stitches, but I don't, I want it narrow. Okay, so that's your determining a factor as to where you're gonna put your stitching. Okay, so I'm coming up again. And I think we've got one more here. All right, coming back from there where the original one was. And whoops, I lost my tail here. Hang on a sec. Let me rethread that. All right, so you can see it pokes up, which is what you want. Okay, if it doesn't look like it's even, you can always take an additional stitch here. And I'll show you what that looks like actually. And then you can come over to, you just want to come across to one of the edge stitches that you just made, okay? Keep it in the yellow area though, because the next thing you want to do is fasten off the yarn and cut it away. So again, the way we did the blue, we're gonna grab this yellow stitch, any one of the yellow stitches that you just made to fasten that spot to the body. Okay, we're gonna go in through the loop, creating that knot to tie off. Lift it up to see which hole is underneath. Okay, so I'm gonna go down in there, right underneath. That's the only way that knot's gonna tuck in properly. All right, come out somewhere else in the body, and as you pull, you'll notice that the knot tucks in. And there it goes. Okay, snip off. Okay, squish it around. Excuse me, I have a needle in my mouth there. Squish it around so that the end pops back in. Grab your next large spot. Okay, thread your needle. And do the same, but you want to go ahead and I would say, let's put one row. See this one blue row? We'll leave that space in between each one because you don't want them right up against each other. You want to make sure there's a space in between, all right? So that you can see the blue in between. So this is where I'm going to start this spot. And again, we're going around. Keep them all the same width, however you did yours. Mine are narrow, so I'm going to keep this one narrow as well. All right, keep going. It's the last one. Back to the start. And as I said, I oftentimes like to just grab this last one here and have it come down too. That way you can't really tell where the start was. Okay, go. You can see that they're next to each other, but there's a space in between. Do the same as before. You're gonna go ahead and grab one of those stitches that you just made. Sometimes you have to wiggle them to get the needle to go behind. Okay, make a loop, pull through to make a knot, lift it up, grab that area, that hole underneath, bring this out another spot. Okay, and then pull so that that knot tucks under. Go ahead and cut away the excess yarn. Okay, and then the other way you can get this to pop in is sometimes if you take your needle in from another area and you just wiggle it underneath, it'll pop that stitch back in too. okay? So that's another good way to do it. So you're gonna grab your last back spot and again, put it back down here. I'm gonna let you guys do this one on your own. Put one row of the blue in between as well, and then come back when you're ready to do the small back spots. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've done the 3 large back spots. We're gonna go ahead and do the 4 medium back spots. You're gonna do 2 on one side and 2 on the other, and they're gonna be placed in the in-between spaces. Again, leaving blue in between because you don't want any of these spots touching. You want them all to be separate. So I'm gonna lay this down alongside, roughly the same amount of distance in between. Okay, make sure that the tail from the beginning magic ring doesn't stick out anywhere. You want it to be tucked underneath. All right, and then we're gonna do the same exact thing as the big ones, only we're using the medium-sized spots. Okay, before I close it, I'm gonna tuck that little tail inside so that we don't see it. Okay, let's come back out one of the areas where the stitches are that you just made. Okay, and then we'll take that edge stitch here, make our loop, and then fasten off the yarn. Lift it up, find that hole underneath, pull this through to another spot on the body, and pull it until that knot goes into her body. Okay, go ahead and snip that away. And in this case, I'm gonna wiggle my needle to pull it in. Okay, so there's one back spot, one of the medium ones. We're gonna do the next one here, and then after that, I'll let you guys go ahead and do the other 2 before we do the smallest of the back spots. Okay. So we'll go this way and then you'll mirror that on that side with the other 2. All right. So again, we're going to go into the blue, pull through, grab your little outside, looks like a little braid almost, the ending edges when you crochet. And we're just going to go around, making sure that we've left blue space in between the circles or the spots on her back. All right, come back over to one of the other stitches. And we're gonna fasten off here by going ahead and making our knot in this last stitch here, or in this side stitch rather. Pull it tight, lift it up, find that hole underneath, come out somewhere else in the body and pull until that knot tucks in, just as so. Then go ahead and cut it off. Tuck in that tail. All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and meet you guys back. Go ahead and do the last 2 and then we'll do the final 3. Those are gonna be French knots, so we'll do those together once you're finished with the medium back spots. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've done the other 2 of the medium back spots. Now we're gonna do this total of 6 French knots, and those are gonna be back like the beginning 3 large. We're gonna do 1, 2, and 3 along either side of the body. So I ended up with a long tail left over from this back spot, so I'm gonna use that to make my French knots. But what you could do is just tie off a strand of thread with a knot, and what you would do is you would come up and you wanna go through the fibers of the yarn. You don't wanna come out a hole or your knot's not gonna stick inside, okay? So you'd wanna come up through wherever you think that spot should go, and I'm gonna place mine right in here, but I'm going through the fibers so that way the knot would stick inside the body and not pull out, okay? So once you have that, to do a French knot, what you want to do is hold your needle close to the base of where the thread is coming out of the piece you're working on, okay? And you're gonna wrap this yarn around your needle. Now, if you're doing a traditional French knot, it's usually wrapped 2 to 3 times. So I'm gonna go 1 and 2, okay? So let's see. I'm gonna go 1 and 2. All right, so you can see there's 2 loops around my hook. Now what you wanna do is you wanna come to a place next to, not in the same hole as where this thread is coming out. You wanna go next to it, otherwise your knot will just go straight back into the body. All right, so I've got my spot and I'm gonna go to the next area where I'm gonna make another spot. That way I can use the same thread. But before you pull the needle all the way through, make sure you've tightened this yarn so that this knot is a nice tight knot. If you make it loose, it's gonna look very bubbly looking, which is not what you want. Okay, so there's a little spot right there, okay? Now we'll do the next one. Again, get your needle near the base of where your thread is coming out. Wrap it around your needle twice. Go to another stitch nearby, but not in the same hole. Go back out wherever you want the next one to be, if you're making a next one. And before you pull that through, make sure you grab this thread and pull that knot tight so that way you don't have a loose knot. You want it to be a nice tight knot. Okay, and you might have to wiggle it to get it to come through. As you can see, you've made a nice little knot here. You've got your other knot here. If they tuck in, you can kind of pull them out just slightly so that you can see them. All right, we're gonna do one more. Okay, now I'm working on the other side. If you want your knots to be a little bit bigger, I've done one here. This is when you wrap it around 3 times. This is when you wrap it around 2 times. So depending on what look you want, it's not a huge difference, so you can really do either way. I'm gonna go ahead and finish Whimsy doing the 3 just to show you. So you'd wrap it around once, twice, and 3 times. And then you'd go in again to a nearby stitch, but not exactly in the same hole. And then bring it up to where you want the next one to go. Kind of gauge based on where you put the other one here so that they're even. And before you pull through, make sure that you've tightened it around that needle. Okay, and pull through, all right. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna go ahead, we finished the back spots. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Thanks, guys.